I ask unanimous consent to call the quorum be terminated.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent that at 4 p.m. Monday, October 17th, the Senate proceed to the consideration of calendar number 155, H.R. 2112. That's the Agriculture Act for fiscal year 2012. If the committee amendment be withdrawn, the chairman of the Appropriations Committee or his designee be recognized to offer amendment number 738, which consists of the text of the withdrawn amendment as Division A, the text of S 1572, calendar number 170 as Division B, and the text of S 1596, calendar number 177 as Division C. Provided further that H.R. 2596 is reported by the House and actually by the House Appropriations Committee, and Division C of Amendment 738 be deemed House passed text to H.R. 2112 for purpose of Rule 16. Finally, that Amendment number 738 for the purpose of paragraph 1, Rule 16 be considered a committee amendment.
Without objection, so ordered.
I'm going to give the chair a written test on this, what I just read, in a few minutes, okay?
I'll pass with flying colors.
Madam President, I ask unanimous consent the Senate now proceed to consideration of S. Conres 31.
Clerk will report.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 31, directing the Secretary of the Senate to make a correction in the enrollment of S. 1280.
Without objection, Senate will proceed to the measure.
I ask unanimous consent that the resolution be agreed to, the motion to reconsider be laid on the table.
Without objection, so ordered.
I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to consideration of S. Res. 293.
Without objection, clerk will report.
Senate Resolution 293, celebrating the 10-year commemoration of the Underground Railroad Memorial and for other purposes.
The Senate will proceed to the measure without objection.
I ask unanimous consent the resolution be agreed to, the preamble be agreed to, the motion to reconsider be laid on the table. There be no intervening action or debate, and any related statements in this matter be printed in the record as if read.
Without objection, so ordered.
Note the absence of quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka.
Madam President, I ask unanimous consent to call the quorum be terminated.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent that on Monday, October 17th, at 5:15 p.m., the Senate proceed to executive session to consider calendar number 271. There will be 15 minutes for debate, equally divided in the usual form. And upon the usual leading back of time, the Senate proceed to vote with no intervening action or debate on calendar number 271. The motion to reconsider be considered made and laid on the table with no intervening action or debate. And any related statements be printed in the record, that the President be immediately notified of the Senate's action, and the Senate then resume the legislative session.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent that when the Senate completes the business today, the Senate adjourn until 2 p.m. on Monday, October 17th. Following the prayer and the pledge, the journal proceedings be approved to date. Morning hour be deemed expired. Time for the two leaders be reserved for use later in the day. And following any leader remarks, the Senate will be in a period of morning business until 4 p.m. The senators permitted to speak for up to 10 minutes each during that time. At 4 p.m., the Senate proceed to H.R. 2112, the vehicle for the agriculture, CGS, and transportation appropriation bills, as indicated in the previous order. Further, at 5:15, the Senate proceed to executive session under the previous order.
Without objection, so ordered.
Madam President, I appreciate the courtesy of the presiding officer, the patience of the presiding officer, and all the staff for working through this afternoon. It took a while to get to where we are, but it'll make next week much more meaningful. The next roll call vote will be at 5:30 p.m. on the confirmation of the Bassoon nomination. If there's no further business to come before the Senate, I ask that it adjourn under the previous order.
The Senate stands adjourned until Monday, 2 p.m. on Monday, October 17th.
The Senate's concluded its business for the day. They confirmed 3 of President Obama's judicial nominees, and they also approved the President